Yep. Good morning. Welcome to the Subdivision and Utility Advisory Committee meeting of August 1st, 2024. At this point, I'd like to call on opening announcements.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available on the counter in the lobby. The Planning Commission's bylaws limit the applicant of a subdivision application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the Commission may extend these times by a majority vote. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone.
Thank you. Now can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Let's. Bill Johnson. Bill Johnson is absent. Tony Zimbelman. Here. Bob Duell.
Here.
Jocelyn Klontz is absent. Joshua Blick appears to be absent. Bob Aldridge.
Here.
John Williams Bay. Mr. Chair, I show 4 present, 3 absent, and I don't see any alternates in the audience.
We have a quorum.
We do indeed.
Okay, thank you. No alternates to release. We have another item that may not be on your agenda, but it's the election of a vice chair of the Subdivision and Utility Advisory Committee. We have not to this point elected one. And of course, in September, we're going to have new officers in the Planning Commission as well as subdivisions and advanced plans. But we would like to elect a vice chair at this point, and that person needs to be appointed by a city council member. So at this point, I would like to open the nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Tony Zimmelman as vice chair for the subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Williams Bay to nominate Tony Zimbelman as vice chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Next, we have our first case. It's sub 2024 00024. And it's located near 215th Street West and a quarter mile north of West 29th Street. We have anybody from, we're gonna have a presentation. Go ahead.
Yep. Greg Sharon, planning staff. Next screen, please. This is a 17-lot residential subdivision in the county. It is associated with a zone change 2424, change from RR rural residential to SF20, single-family residential. Next screen, please. And then the next screen. Go through the waivers. Actually, this is the final plat, not a preliminary plat. I think I said preliminary. Go through the waivers. Waiver will be needed for temporary turnaround for street stub greater than 150 feet. Sedgwick County Fire has only required a temporary turnaround cul-de-sac on the middle stub street to the south and at the end of North 208th West. Therefore, a waiver will be needed from the required turnaround at the east end of West 33rd Street North and the south end of North 214th West. Go through staff comments. Item B, since sanitary sewer is unavailable, MABCD requires test for on-site sewage and requires soils work. Item C, property is located within rural water district number 4. If service is available and feasible, the applicant shall need to connect to rural water district. Item D, County Stormwater Management has reviewed and approved the drainage plan. Item F, complete access controls with 170-foot opening is shown along North 215th Street West. County Public Works approves of the access controls along 215th Street. Public Works requires 75-foot of access controls along the proposed 33rd Street adjacent to 215th Street and approves of the right-of-way dedication. Public Works advises that the temporary cul-de-sac on the unnamed road name needs to be shifted west in order to accommodate a 96 diameter drivable surface turnaround. Item G, Standard County Fire comment regarding service drives. Item K, GIS approves of street names, but requests a street name for the street connection to the south. Item N, 35-foot front setbacks are front and street side setbacks are platted. This is represent adjustment from the required 25 10-foot required by the zoning ordinance. And item W, Evergy comments that the plat is outside of their territory and no transmission. Item X, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op has reviewed the plat and requested additional easements, and those have been forwarded to the agent. There are questions, comments?
We have any questions or comments from the advisory committee?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin, no additional comment.
Are there any questions for the staff from the commission members? Mr. Aldridge.
I don't know if there's been a revision to the final plat, but mine still shows Pete Meister So on the platter's text, that needs to be corrected to Ryan Beatty if it hasn't already been done.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you. Call on the agent or applicant at this time. Please state your name and address. You'll have 10 minutes.
Good morning, Dan Garber with Garber Surveying Service, 2908 North Plum in Hutchinson and 544 West Douglas here in Wichita. On behalf of the applicant, what you see on the screen is the preliminary plat, but we are in agreement with all the staff comments, and Mr. Beatty's name has been added as chairman on the final plat. I think most of the comments have already been addressed, but we'll double check those. We are in agreement with staff comments. I stand for any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you. Is there anyone from the public present that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Discussion, action.
Make a motion that we approve for staff comments.
Can we get confirmation that the fire department is approving the waiver request? Greg, do you know if the fire has approved that waiver request?
They only required the turnarounds that's stated in the staff report. So with that, it is assumed that they are okay with the waiver since they did not require them on those extensions, street steps.
I'd request that the motion include that it be subject to approval by the fire code then.
Agreed.
I meant the
Would you
fire
agree with that,
department.
Mr. Williams Bay?
Agreed.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams Bay. Do we have a second?
Mr., if I may,
Excuse me.
sorry to interrupt. Commissioner Williams Bay, does your motion include the requested waivers in addition to county councilor's request?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Aldrich. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next case is sub 2024-00031. And it is located on East Pawnee and South Webb Road. Final plat, Pegasus Second Edition.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, presenting Pegasus Second Edition. And next screen, property zone MF18 multifamily. And then the next screen, this is a final plat for a 44-lot residential subdivision within the city of Wichita. This is a replat of a portion of the original Pegasus edition. Go through the waivers. Waiver will be needed for circular turnaround as required at the end of the cul-de-sacs. Plat denotes hammerhead turnarounds in lieu of the circular turnarounds on Gobble Court. Although modification waiver will be needed to allow the platted hammerhead turnarounds with the approval of the city fire department, which I have confirmation that city fire department approves of the requested waiver for the hammerheads. Go through staff comments. Item A, Public Works requires sanitary sewer to be extended to all lots and blocks. Acquisition fees are due. The plat is located within Rural Water District Number 3. If applicant wants city water, applicant needs to provide a right to serve from Rural Water District Number 3. Special fee may be applied to service bill, water service bill. Public Works requests a 15-foot easement running east and west going through Reserve A of the Pegasus addition to allow water lines to be connected. Advises a sanitary sewer main will need to be extended for a lift station, will need to be constructed before the plat can be served, and request a utility plan with sanitary sewer plan depths. Additional easements may be requested once that plan has been received. Item C, stormwater management. There's revision to this. City Stormwater had approved the drainage concept, but a final drainage plan for the final plat has not been submitted. Item D, standard city fire comments regarding hydrant locations and 26-foot drivable fire access roads. And for developments 1 or 2 family where number of dwelling units exceed 30 shall provide 2 separate and approved apparatus roads shall be placed a distance following D 107.2. Item E, access controls are indicated along South Webb and East Pawnee Road. The traffic engineering approves of the hammerheads, but will defer to fire department for proper sizing. And traffic engineering advises access controls and right-of-way have been previously approved. Item F, GIS approves of street names. Item G, standard health comment regarding irrigation wells. And item R, Evergy will need to request additional easements at this time. And proposed street light placement was reviewed and 3 lights added and approved by traffic engineering on the preliminary plat. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions from the Utility Advisory Committee?
Randy with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. I do not need to request additional easements, just streetlight placement. I'm sorry about that, Greg. I gave you wrong information. Also, the contact person is not Heidi Bryan. It is Kevin Reichek. He's the East Side Subdivision rep, and I can provide his phone number information if the agent doesn't have it. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission on this? Mr. Aldridge?
Yeah, I have a questions for staff regarding the drainage plan. The staff report shows that Stormwater Management received the drainage plan on June 21st and approved the plan. So I would take that the whole plan's been approved, but you're saying that the final plan has not been submitted?
The preliminary plan had been submitted back in June and was approved, but a final document now has not yet been submitted.
Okay, and then my question, I guess, I don't know if this is gonna be for staff or legal. I know that as long as the concept's been submitted, I think we're okay, but if the final drainage plan do we need to defer, or can we move on without that at this point?
This is Joe
Since the
Hickles.
concept's been submitted.
Joe Hickles, City Stormwater. I would not defer. I think this can easily be cleaned up prior to the meeting next week.
Okay, great, thank you. Also, I have a question for City Fire. Do they have any comments on the hammerhead?
Jose O'Cady's Wichita Fire. The only comment is that they have to, the waiver is approved. They have to make sure that they abide by the dimensions requirements for a turnaround for hammerhead.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? We'll call on the agent or applicant. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 10 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Will Clevenger with Garver. Address is 1995 Midfield Road, Wichita, Kansas, 67209. We're in agreement with staff comments. That was an oversight that we hadn't had the final drainage plan submitted. I will get that turned over to Mr. Hickel by tomorrow. That way he'll have time to review it before next week's meeting. we're in agreement with staff comments, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of the agent? Yes.
Jose Ocates, Wichita Fire. I just want to confirm that these global courts are going to be single-family dwelling?
Yes, that's correct.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Is there anyone present from the public that would like to speak on this case? If not, we will bring it back to the commission for discussion and action.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the final plat as given, including the required waivers.
Here, a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Aldrich, second by Mr. Zimmelman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next case is sub 2021-00038. It's located on 47th Street South and 1/8 of a mile west of South Seneca.
Morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff. Here to present 47th Street addition. This is a revised one-step plat located in the city. The original one-step plat was approved in September of 2021. And there's a time limit on when plats, once they are approved, can be revised, changed, and that initial approval is within 3 years. So they are within the 3-year time period for the plat to continue. Next screen, please. And then the next screen. Approval of this plat will require lot to depth width ratio for all lots, so a waiver would need to be granted for all the lots in this subdivision. I go through staff comments. Item A, City Public Works and Utilities requires water to be extended to all lots and blocks. Sanitary sewer needs to be extended to lots 6 through 11 and lots 1 through 7. Water acquisition fees are due for all lots and blocks. They request a 30-foot drainage and utility easement along the rear of lots 5 through 11, Block A, and 4-7, Block B. They note that the existing sanitary sewer is very shallow. The engineering firm will need to coordinate with Public Works Engineering Department and show how service line will connect to public sanitary sewer. They also note a water line will need to loop from 46th to 47th Street, and a water line will need to wrap around the court head. Item C, City Stormwater Management. It's a revised comment. City Stormwater Management, they have approved the drainage plan, but have not yet approved the revised drainage plan for the final plat. Item E, City Fire requests proper hydrant location and protection following specifications for apparatus access roads. Fire states cul-de-sac does not meet the required dimensions per Appendix D 103, 70-foot drivable surface. Fire department states 26-foot wide streets are required for over 500 streets. And fire department states that the preliminary plat not approved over 30 dwellings with one fire access road. GIS needs, item F, GIS needs to approve of street names. Item G, plat denotes one street opening along 47th Street and 46th Street with access controls along 47th Street. Traffic engineering advises that the opening at the end of the cul-de-sac needs widened to the west about 15 feet for possible future alignment for approach of Elizabeth Street to the north. Item J, standard health comment regarding irrigation wells. And item T, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will need to request additional easements. Those have been forwarded to the agent and proposed street lights to be approved by traffic engineering. I stand for comments.
We have any comments from the Utility Advisory Committee?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin, no additional comment.
Joe Hickle, City Stormwater. This plan was approved back in 2021. However, the lot layout has changed and the engineer has not provided an update to that plan. I think it's a relatively easy cleanup and we can get it done before your next meeting.
Any other comments? Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I got a question again for fire relating to the cul-de-sac. Are you good with the 60 foot that they're showing?
The drawings that I received did not have the dimensions of 70-foot turnaround. So it was, I can't recall exactly what the dimensions were when I reviewed them. So that was the reason for my comment that they did not meet the correct drivable surface requirements on cul-de-sacs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? If not, we'll call on the agent or applicant. Do we have anybody here representing them? Give us your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Kobe Pietro with Caw Valley Engineering, 9139 East 37th Street North. I think we agree with all comments. We don't have any questions about that. Only thing with the drainage plan, I thought we had got that submitted, so I'll get that over to you tomorrow when we can get that cleaned up before the meeting next week. So at that point, I'll open it up to any questions you guys have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did we still need approval for the GIS names? The street names, as that was still outstanding?
Okay. Can we include that with the motion, or do we need to?
Well, I was just checking in on that, but I think if it's still outstanding, we should probably, say subject to the necessary approvals.
Check with GIS to approve the street name. Sometimes they're late getting comments to us, but I always check before I approve that they're good with the street names, so I'll make sure that's done.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant or agent? Not, thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this case at this time? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and action.
I'll move that we approve this with staff comments, including the waiver for the lot depth to width ratio.
Second.
You need to include in that motion the street names.
Yes, I would recommend, you could just say subject to the outstanding approvals as described by staff.
So moved.
Good. We have all that down. Second?
Yes, second.
Okay, it was a motion by Mr. Zimbelman, a second by Mr. Aldrich. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, we are now on item 5, sub 2024 00038. Preliminary plat for Prairie Glen Edition located west side of Greenwich Road, approximately a quarter mile north of Harry Street.
Morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff here to present the Prairie Glen addition, property zone MF 18 and TF3, two-family residential. Next screen, please. And then the next screen. Okay, this is a preliminary plat for a 246 lot subdivision located in the county and within 3 miles of the city of Wichita. The site is located in the county adjoining the city's Wichita boundary, and annexation will be requested at a later date. I go through the waivers. There are several waivers for this. I won't read through everything, just kind of briefly go through them. The first waiver that will be needed is because the spine of the cul-de-sac need to be 90, the lots on the spine of the cul-de-sac will need to be 90 feet or less. The majority of them are over 90 feet. Proposed Deer Haven Circle consists of 32 dwelling units along the cul-de-sac street and a 50-foot right-of-way. However, the average width of lots is less than 90 feet. Therefore, waiver will be needed to allow the lot widths of less than 90 feet. Item 2, waiver that will be needed. Has to do with that cul-de-sacs with one entry can't be exceed 800 feet in length. The proposed Deer Haven Circle length exceeds 800 feet and no emergency access easement is provided. In order to allow the proposed street as platted, a waiver will be needed. Since the above regulations are based on public safety measures and requirements, modification from this requirement shall only be granted with the approval of city fire, which I believe they have approved of this waiver number 2, with the cul-de-sac street being over 800 feet. Item 3, there are several lots that will be needed waiver for lot depth to width ratio. Number 4, the property to the south along the east portion of the property is unplatted. This is a single family residential lot, so the applicant hasn't provided a street stub to that property. The subdivision regulations require street stub to unplatted property. So a waiver will be needed for that. Staff comments. Item A, Public Works Utilities requires extend water to all lots and blocks. Sanitary sewer must be extended to lots 1 through 5 and 18 through 69, and lots 12 through B, Block C, and lots 9 through 18, Block D. Acquisition fees for all lots are due. Request a utility plan with sanitary sewer plan depths, additional easements may be requested at that time. They note new water lines should connect to existing water lines on Shiloh Street, Lincoln Street, and Smithmore Street. Public Works notes sanitary sewer may have to be extended for lots 12 through 13, Block C, if an easement can be found that allows these lots to have access to the existing sanitary sewer line and Park Meadow Estates drainage dedication. Item C, City Stormwater has received and approved a drainage concept. Item D, the County Stormwater Management has requested a copy of the subdivision drainage plan since this is adjacent to county property. City fire comments, standard comment regarding hydrant locations and for developments over 30 units, need to provide 2 fire apparatus roads. City Fire would like confirmation of unobstructed connection to streets Lincoln, Smithmore, and Shiloh. And City Fire advises 2 fire apparatus roads are required for 30 dwelling units per D 107. Portion of plat is not approved. Lincoln Circle, Chateau Circle, Deer Haven, Linine, Wilshire Terrace, Smithmore, and Beldine. City Fire requires 35 drivable surface cul-de-sacs and 25 drivable fire apparatus roads on Lincoln Circle, Chateau, Deer Haven, Morris, and Bedell. And City Fire does approve of the waiver number 2 of Deer Haven Circle exceeding 800 feet with the requirement of cul-de-sac being minimum drive turnaround is 38-foot radius, and fire hydrant placement will require 26-foot wide by 20-foot long fire apparatus road. Item G, traffic engineering approves of access controls and right-of-way. There's access controls with one opening along South Greenwich Road. Traffic engineering requires common elements along Bailey, Lincoln, and Honeytree Streets, and request pedestrian sidewalk connecting Bedell Street to Chateau between lots 100 and 101 and lots 43 to 44. GIS to approve of street names. Item I, a standard environmental health comment regarding irrigation wells. Item X, Evergy will need to request additional easements. Those have been forwarded to the agent, and proposed street light placement to be approved by traffic engineering. Evergy Transmission has a 138 cable transmission line within the platted area for the Prairie Grand addition. The owner development or their agent needs to show any easement for this line in favor of Evergy on the preliminary and final plats. The plat is very busy in the area where our line is located, so it will be helpful if the agent would clearly identify our transmission pole locations on the plat. And I will stand for questions.
Are there any questions from the Utility Advisory Committee?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. The line that I think that Chris has already provided the easement to us because I have it and noted on it exhibit that he sent us where those poles are and the page and book and everything from the existing easement from 1940. It runs along the west line of lots 1 through 16. And I just want to verify from him when he comes up, is that 5 foot included in the 20-foot easement, drainage and utility? That's what I want to verify, because we don't want to be in a drainage easement with transmission lines and poles. It can cause issues, and I know that Greg has reached out to Chris directly. Greg Roy is our lead tech for transmission engineering on this plat, and they're in discussion. But we would prefer not to do that, and then we would like them to send final construction plans before construction begins to them so that they can see what conflicts that may be there. But he sent an exhibit of that noted on the plat, but it was not noted on the preliminary. And we would like to ask all plats, preliminary, one-step final, have any existing facilities or transmission easements or any kind of easements or anything be put on the plat before it's submitted, because it gives us what we need to look at.
Any other comments from the advisory committee? Comments from the commission? We have any comments from the commission? If not, we'll call on the agent or applicant to come forth, and you'll have 10 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Chris Rose with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. Let's see, my address, 315 Ellis, Wichita, Kansas, 67211. So I'll just start with Evergy real quick. We didn't show that easement on there because a lot of times when we do a preliminary plat, we just do not have the title report at that moment. Anytime we do get the title report, which we got, we immediately updated the plat to show that easement. A lot of times we can go to the Register of Deeds office and they will show easements back to the 60s and 70s. This one's done in 1940. You know, it was just something that we did not have. If we knew of it, we would have shown it. You know, it's not a huge one of those big metal or those big poles, transmission lines that you see out there. You know, they are bigger than a normal power pole. When I was working on the sketch, you know, I didn't think of it as a transmission line, or we would have worked a little harder to find that. I think we can recognize the difference between, you know, like just a normal service pole versus a transmission line. But we try to always do that. And if we do have the title report, we will. And to answer her question, we originally on the preliminary plat have it as a drainage and utility easement. We have switched that to just a drainage easement. With a sanitary sewer will go up front. It's very difficult to try to go serve all of these lots with the existing sewer and have to tear out backyards, and there's, you know, all kinds of utilities back there. I understand what Greg was saying. It is very, very difficult to read, but I told Greg that, you know, we could always provide them with a exhibit of some sort that kind of zooms in on those areas, but we're not planning on doing any kind of utilities back there. As far as the 20-foot drainage easement, I mean, how I have it shown today would include the 5 foot, but we can, you know, always offset that. I would assume you know, having just a drainage easement wouldn't hurt anything to being over the top of their 5 foot easement. And if there's any kind of regrading, we'd have to get permission from them anyway. But, you know, we can work with Evergy on that easement. It's a preliminary plat, so we can work with them on that. I don't think that's a very big deal. Even if we have to offset it 5 feet, so it's a 5 foot easement to Evergy and a 20-foot drainage easement. And with that, I will continue. I hope, Rondi, did I miss anything? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, they are. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, if they will be upgrading that pole line to steel pole, I don't know. So you might, you know, I mean, if it's a good line and the poles are in good shape, we're not going to replace them for no reason. So, but I'll let you go ahead and go forward with that with him, because I know you've been working with him. And that's the way his email to me came back, you know, that I sent on to Greg here, that it sounded like he was willing to work with you. You just need to send him the plans and show him what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that we try to do, what we would prefer is to have a drainage easement there is not that we're going to go dig a ditch near their power poles, but what we want to make sure is that there's no water sitting back there in a low area where we can go back there and kind of grade that out, or the city, you know, if there's an issue down the road, that the city has the right to go in there and kind of regrade that a little bit. So that's what our thought is, but we can work with Evergy and the city on what they really need for that. So I'll move forward. The applicant does agree with staff comments except for item E, and there's maybe another item that we need to work out. So I'll just start with item E, which is the fire department comments, and I'm just going to go from the top down, and we'll go from there. Item E, the first comment from the fire, we do agree with. We're fine with that comment. The second comment, which is that talks about the development and having multiple access points, I think should be removed. I do think that we do have 4 access points here. We have one off to Greenwich. We have one up here on Smithmore. We have one on Lincoln Street here. And then we also have one down here. And if you notice that all 3 of these are existing developments, all of them have paved access at this time. So you probably don't get that very often in a subdivision development. So, you know, this is probably a unique one. It's probably considered more of an infill project, but we do have those 4 points of access. So I would say that comment should be removed. The next comment talks about the unobstructed connections. There's no plans at this time to put any kind of gates or anything here. If you do provide gates, you cannot do that in the public right of way. You do have to plat them as reserves, and I don't see any reserves here. So these are all connections that anybody can go through. So I think that answers that question. The next one, the fire department, about the cul-de-sacs. So this is very unique in how this was zoned, and the zoning, the whole property is zoned for TF3, but there's also a protective overlay that allows only 72 duplexes. So we have, with the developer, tried to figure out where the duplex areas will be and where the single family areas will be. So I'm just going to go with Lincoln Circle. At this time, this would be duplexes. Chateau Court would be duplexes. This Loop Street here would be duplexes. And then Deer Haven, and this is single family, and then single family around the outside. So I'm just going to go from their fire comments. The applicant would like for it to be approved how we have it shown, with one exception, and I'll get to that in a second. This here, we did plat a 64-foot right-of-way, so that's 6 foot wider than we normally do for cul-de-sacs. We usually do a 58-foot right-of-way, so we did add a little bit more width on this court here. We did the same thing on Chateau Court. It is wider. This Deer Haven being a single-family area, there are 32 units there. It does exceed the 838 feet, but we should have done a 53-foot cul-de-sac there. So we will make that change to a 53-foot, which is actually a comment down below. We would like that area to be approved with that lot count. This area here, we will add a second point of access right here. We will have kind of a looped road, and then we will do another access point right here. And this is single family as well. The next two comments we agree with, have no issues with those two. And then I would go down to traffic engineering, item G. Their third comment down, they were talking about some pedestrian access. And I talked with traffic engineering this morning, and we will work with them on trying to find a different way to do it. We understand their concern, trying to get some pedestrian access through the development, and we will work with them on that. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Is there any questions? I would include city fire on this, either from city fire or from the commission.
Jose O'Kays, Wichita Fire. I have been in communication with Mr. Rose, and we are in agreement with Chateau Court along with Deer Haven to approve those single access, and then till we receive the replat or redesign of the Wilshire Terrace little circle there with that new second connection, that will be denied at this time, along with Lincoln Circle will be denied with 42 dwellings inside of one single access road.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, this is for fire. On item E, the second paragraph, that the agent was wanting stricken. Any thoughts on that?
No, we're in agreement with the comments, as in with the access, since they're going to be unobstructed free access. That's all approved. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone from the public here that would like to speak on this case? Anyone from the public? If not, Mr. Aldridge?
I'm sorry, I'd like to get a follow-up from Chris regarding the Lincoln Circle and was that Leanne and Wilshire?
Well, we will fix the Leanne, whatever, Wilshire, Smithmore, and Bedell. We'll add that second point of access. Just common sense probably would say that having a looped road with an entrance like that probably should have 2 points of access. I mean, that's easy for us to do. The Lincoln Circle, I would probably disagree with. I can't agree to that. When you look at past plats that have been approved, lately that have as many lots on a cul-de-sac as what we have there, I just think that should be approved. The other thing is that we can do single family and TF3 zoning, and this is at least the second phase, which is maybe 3 years down the road. Who knows what's going to happen 3 years down the road? It might be all single family if the market changes. So I would like that one to be approved. And just kind of an FYI, and just because Pegasus second was up here earlier, if you guys remember back 6 months ago, Pegasus Edition, if you look at it, they had 2 cul-de-sacs that have 20 duplex lots back to back that were longer than what we show here, and they were 58-foot right away. And if you guys, I know you can't see this, but as you can see, that was approved, and the only thing we wish is that we have the same approval based on, past plats that have been approved with those kind of lots.
Thank you. Any other comments or from the commission? I don't think we have anybody from the public present. Council?
Could you speak towards the traffic engineering request for calming elements and also the pedestrian sidewalk?
We're in agreement with traffic, and the pedestrian sidewalk is one that we don't necessarily agree with the location. Right now, they want it to kind of come through here and connect right through here, and we do not want to have a sidewalk between 2 lots, or 4 lots, I should say. We will work with them on doing something different if possible. I think we can meet with traffic and work something out that is better than trying to go through these 2 areas here. It's difficult when you want to do a sidewalk through there. Normally we do like a 10-foot sidewalk easement, and then, when you get fences on both sides and it's a tunnel, then, people might not feel safe to use it. Then if you do a 20-foot or 25, now the HOA is involved, and who's going to maintain it and do all that. So, and that's 300 feet of sidewalk. So we saw some issues with that, but we understand what traffic engineering wants. They want to try to get some of this foot traffic, mainly the kids, through the development to this little side or this crosswalk here, because there's a school that sits, back over here, and it's probably a long ways to go away around and then come back and then come up. So we will try to get them some sort of a different route that is agreeable to both parties.
One final thing, Daniel, can you comment as to the drainage plan? It looks like this was supposed to be a preliminary plat, so it's a drainage plan is only required, a concept is only required, but you want a drainage plan to be submitted?
Yeah, so Scott Lindebeck, the stormwater engineer, requested the drainage. He has drainage plan on here, but I think, drainage concept is required for a preliminary plat. Checking my emails, he has not received it, but I guess you have received it, correct, Joe? So I think we just need to be included in that loop.
We have sent it to Scott, so I know I did. I didn't have any comments from Scott, but I was confused too that he said plan, so I didn't know if he just wanted the final plan, but I went ahead and sent him the concept, so.
Scott Lindebeck is in Europe, so I don't know if he has reviewed it, but I'm okay with this proceeding forward if you have reviewed it, Joe.
Okay, bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. We have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve, also to include all the required waivers, and also with the understanding that traffic engineering and the agent will be working on the sidewalk, and also pending approval of the GSI street names.
Here a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Aldrich and a second by Mr. Zimbelman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I think that's all the business we have today, folks. Thank you for your attendance.